Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start with going into the SAP GUI, and I'll go to QP01 and I'll just show you the behavior in my system. Now, I'll just put in a few pieces of data here and then show you essentially what the behavior is in the SAP screens. So notice that it jumped directly to creation of the inspection plan in this instance, and the reason for this is because I didn't already have any inspection plans defined. But as soon as I've created one, you'll see that what happens is when I go into that group again, you'll see that I will get a different screen before I actually go to creating the plan. So I simply press enter, and now I get this screen, which is the task list overview. So it's important that I record the task list overview as part of my transaction recording, and the only way I really can do that is if I either explicitly invoke it at the time of running the transaction, or if I already have an existing item in the task list overview. If I don't have the task list overview as part of my recording, then of course my recording won't work. So now what I'll do is I'll go to transaction and I'll record the transaction, and just put in my credentials, make sure I have access to the transaction. Just choose my recording mode and then proceed on to the next stage, which is basically doing the recording. So I'll step through the transaction, specify the group, add whatever other data I need to. Now I'm getting the task list overview, so that's fine. Now I'll go to new entries, and this of course will take me to the create inspection plan, and then this is the normal process that I would use for creating the rest of the inspection plan data. So once I've saved that data, let me just pick a few extra fields here, and any space that I put into the recording will record that field. And of course, if I change a value, even if I replace it with the same value, that will form part of the recording as well. So I'll simply go through the rest of these fields and then simply hit save when I'm done. And now my recording is finished, and now I just have to wait for the fields and screen names to download to transaction, and then the next step will be the mapping. And what I'll also do is I'll insert some special logic into my transaction recording to make sure that I handle that task list screen if it appears or doesn't appear. Okay, so now we move to the mapping stage, and I'll just simply go to the basic mapper and drag and drop a few fields in various directions. Okay, so now this is the important part. Rows 8 and 10 basically are the task overview screen, and this is the one that I need to skip if it doesn't appear. But remember, I can only do that if it forms part of my original recording. So I'll skip that screen if it's not found, and then basically I can just map the rest of my data. Okay, now I'll just save my template and I'll save my Excel workbook. And then save the script. And now I'll just open the Excel workbook with the data in it, and I'll populate it with some data. Now this may take a couple of different attempts to get this right. The important thing here is that columns D and E relate to my plan number and the plan item. So of course if I don't provide correct data there, then this won't work. Now also to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to test this using the Excel add-in rather than running it from the rich client. So I'll just make a couple more changes in the script before I do that. So I'm going to switch on the extended log. I'll have that as a comment in the log column. I'll make the log a little bit more granular in terms of time stamping, and then I don't know how many records I'm going to have, so I'll set that to 0. And now I can actually open this directly from the add-in, and I can run it directly from the add-in, and that way I don't have the minimizing and maximizing of the Excel screen while the script is running. And so you'll see here that in my response I get a couple of errors on the first couple of items, and this is basically because column E is duplicated, so those items already exist, okay, and it's actually telling me that there. Even if I remove the plan number, I'm still going to get that error. And of course I'll see that again, and now I'll actually get errors on rows 4 and 5 as well, because the plan items already exist for those third and fourth items that I created already. So now what I'll do is as part of my debugging process, what I'll do is I want to see the screens on which the errors are appearing. So I'm going to run it in step-by-step mode with stop on all screens. And you'll see now that what will happen is it'll launch the SAP GUI and it'll walk me through the fields and the screens, and it'll show me the ones where the specific problem is. And this is the best way to basically debug your script, to try and work out where your data errors might be, or even for that matter where you might have some problem with the logic in your script. And you can see there that it's already created 2 items for PA1000. Items 27 and 28, so that's fine, but it'll skip the screen because it's part of the recording. And now you can see there is exactly the error that I'm getting back in the application. So let's exit out of this transaction. Let's clear out our data. And let's run it for run now, and let's see what we get back. And so you can see here that it's telling me that not all the data is being provided. And of course the data we know that is not being provided is the group counter number. But what I'll do is that, because I want to pin it specifically to the plant number for plan number for PA1000, I'll just provide some item numbers that are incremental to what we already have out there. And run it again, and now you shall see that it will create results for all of these items. And I can now go into the SAP screen and have a look at that material inspection plan, and you'll see that I will have numerous items in there now. And from this last run that I just did, you can see there's items 30 and 31. And then if I go to a different material, let me just go back out of here. Go in again, change the group, and now you see I have items 2 and 28 because I did create a 28 earlier. And if I actually go into that item itself, let me just drill through. You'll see that if I look at the header, it'll show you when it was created, and it was in fact today. And there it is there. And that's pretty much it. The most important thing to remember is that skip screen in your transaction recording. And ensuring that you put a skip screen around it.